So as leaders debate their response or lack thereof to gender-based violence in South Africa, we'll have to wait at least a week to find out the fate of self-confessed Ekurhuleni serial rapist Nkosinathi Phakathi. He's facing 148 charges, including 90 counts of rape. This occurred during a 9-year reign of terror on Gauteng's East Rand. He's pleaded guilty to all charges. Today he provided graphic details of his attacks. His youngest victim was just 9 years old. The matter has been postponed until next Tuesday. eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu was in the Palm Ridge Magistrate's Court and joins me now in studio. So this must have been grueling to sit and listen to these graphic details of these rapes, some of them on children, 90 counts of rape. I suppose the question, it's the same question I asked you yesterday. Do we have an understanding of how it went on for 9 years? 90 women and children raped.
Well, Sally, I can tell you that that's a question that still baffles a lot of gender-based violence activists, of course, who have raised questions about the way that police deal with such incidents. Of course, you know, Sally, that there has been complaints as far as that is concerned that police do not react fast enough, and that when the perpetrators are brought before the courts are lenient on these perpetrators. So it really does beg the question as to why the police could not detect this man for such a long time. But I can tell you that from what we heard in court, Sally, certainly harrowing details of some of those rapes that he conducted between 2012 and 2021. And many of his victims, Sally, unfortunately were young children, children that were going to school that he either targeted, or children that were left at home without the parents. Parents are still at work, and he'll go into these houses and, rape these children, one of the stories that I remember is, of course, an incident that happened in 2016 in one of the townships there in Ekurhuleni, where he had made, two friends. There were 4 friends that were walking to school, and they were crossing a railway bridge, and he pretended to be a police officer and told them that it was illegal to cross this railway bridge. And so he said they needed to go to a field where he would then make the arrest, and that is where he pounced on them. There were 2 boys and 2 girls. He asked the 2 boys to first rape the girls interchangeably, and then after that, he then went on to rape the girls himself too. So that just tells you just some of the heinous crimes that he had committed. He went into people's houses. He made smaller brothers, tie up the older sisters and rape them in front of them. So these are just some of the things that came out during his plea statement that was read in court. And of course, he had pleaded guilty to the 89 charges of rape, of which of them are 6 of compelled rape, as well as 4 of actually making or compelling a minor to witness a sexual crime. So it was quite shocking details, Sally, to hear some of those, the extent of his crime spree, his reign of terror that continued for 9 years. And I think everybody's asking themselves, just how could police not find this man?
Yeah, and let's listen to GBV activist Cheryl Dlamini talking about, I think, exactly that.
How do you rape a 9-year-old repeatedly and not have any form of remorse? I don't see any remorse from him. Yes, he's pleading guilty for whatever reason because he was caught and there's evidence against him, but there's no remorse. He's just here in court, just making sure that he goes through the process. Then he's gonna go to correction. That's it. Then how are these children supposed to, come back from this?
Yeah, I mean, you can see she's completely horrified, as are all of us. No remorse, she says, on the part of the self-confessed rapist, Nkosinathi Phakathi. So he was caught how?
Well, so what you do understand is that this happened all in March last year. Remember, this reign of terror started in June 2012, and this is where he had started in one of the informal settlements here in the East Rand, and from there he has been changing places. It's literally been moving from one place to the other, and that's where he committed these crime sprees over that particular period of time. So in this instance, he had gone back to one of the places where he had stayed, and to his unfortunate circumstances, one of the victims that had raped earlier on managed to spot him and then alerted police. Remember the time, Sally, there was a reward that had been issued by police after he had committed another rape. Just a month before that in Crystal Park, he had gone into the house disguised as a municipal worker, going there to read a meter, and then he raped a woman. And so the police were really at that particular time looking for him, and that's where this former victim then identified him. He was arrested by police but tried to make a run for it, and that's where they shot him in the foot. That's how he lost his leg. Sally is currently without a leg. He's amputated because of the injury that he sustained during that arrest.
And it's so interesting that what happened at the conference today is that the children's segment of the programme had to be cancelled, mostly because of a time constraint. And you're in court hearing how children so often are victims of rape. The representation of children and dealing with children obviously has to be handled incredibly sensitively. But once a child is exposed to such a horrific crime, their innocence is completely destroyed forever. Did you get a sense that the court is proceeding in a sensitive way in understanding how to manage this, bearing in mind that doing this properly, getting closure on this case properly might help some of those young victims heal in some way?
I think, Sari, it is, given the fact that even us, in terms of our reporting, we were allowed only to show the victim, the suspect, on camera. But as far as any of the names of the victims, as far as any of the areas, particular details as to where these rapes incidents occurred that might, lead to us knowing who these victims are. They were very careful with that, Sally, and I think it's been treated with the dignity that it deserves and the respect that it deserves. And certainly the expectancy now from the gender-based violence activists is that, he will get the harshest sentence of life imprisonment for all these crimes that he committed. And there's a call, of course, by the state that he should be given, the harshest sentence. So they're hoping that they will find closure and that these victims will finally get closure on this matter. 90
counts of rape, that's just part of the charges. Any understanding of why he confessed? Was there DNA evidence against him, for example? Because this has been a big issue, that the DNA processing has been so backlogged.
So what you understand, sir, is that there was DNA evidence that was linking him to these crimes. In fact, we understand that there were 93 dockets that were open. And of those, we understand that there were DNA specimens that linked him to these particular crimes. But also the fact that he then went into this plea bargain with the state where he admitted that he's going to confess to these particular crimes, but there was no agreement in terms of sentencing. So it was just agreement as far as those charges are concerned to say that he had committed these particular charges. But we know that when it comes to sentencing, the state is going to argue on the issue of remorse and whether or not he has shown any remorse. The mere fact that he has pleaded guilty to these charges doesn't in any way show that he's shown remorse. So that's something that's still going to be tested when this matter is brought before sentencing. But what we do know, sir, is that he had gone into this plea bargain with the state as far as the conviction is concerned only.
All right, and so we're getting judgment next Tuesday, but of course he has already confessed to those horrific crimes. Thank you so much. That, of course, is eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu reporting on that serial rapist.